Singapore is dropping its 30 by 30 food target for a new roadmap after high costs and land limits. We break down the updated goals. By 2035, local farms are expected to meet 20% of Singapore's fibre needs, including leafy vegetables and mushrooms. They are also to supply 30% of protein needs, including eggs and seafood. Latest figures show that about 8% of fibre and 26% of protein are produced in Singapore. Now, authorities are studying how feasible it is to set up a facility to help them cut costs and business risk. The Singapore Food Agency says it has started talks with potential tenants like land-based aquaculture and indoor farms. The study is expected to be done within the next 2 years.
It's meant to be both a plug and play and also a modular type of facility, right, where it's a quicker startup, which will also, because it is certain aspects of it would be pre-designed, right? So it would also help lower the regulatory hurdles, which today many of our farms are faced when they want to start up new farms here in Singapore. Right. And of course also lower some of their initial investment costs as well.
Finding more suppliers from around the world is another key strategy. The government is looking to make it easier to do so by streamlining some processes. It will also continue to strengthen agri-food trade ties with other countries. Now, stockpiling continues to be part of the plan, and the government is working with industry partners so this is done more efficiently. Currently, Singapore stockpiles rice, frozen protein, and canned vegetables. The government is also looking to establish partnerships with other countries. Take Vietnam, for example. Singapore has signed an agreement that will allow it to activate rice supply from the fellow Southeast Asian nation in times of need.
Global partnerships are more essential now as supply chains face the risk of fragmentation. We will strengthen G2G relations with like-minded countries to safeguard flow of food to Singapore. We're also exploring other international partnerships to boost our food security and will share more information when ready.
The Singapore Food Agency is committing $42 million to advance food innovation and safety research. Minister of State for Trade and Industry Alvin Tan says the investment aims to strengthen Singapore's food resilience and make sustainable food both viable and delicious. 4 projects will be awarded to improve the nutrition and functionality of alternative protein products and to advance novel non-animal testing methods for evaluating novel safety. 6 projects will be awarded. Another one, a centre which strengthens Singapore's talent pipeline and research capabilities by partnering global universities, will also be one of the recipients. Now, many farms aren't surprised by the 30 by 30 vision that's been shelved. They have been hit by a triple whammy of rising costs, limited land, and weak local demand. This despite millions poured into productivity, technology, and research grants. CNA takes a look at what's holding them back and how they've been adapting.
I would like to focus on our Grow Local strategy. Local production will reduce our reliance on imports and buffer the impact of overseas supply disruptions. That is to locally produce 30% of Singapore's nutritional needs by 2030. 30 by 30. This is an ambitious multifold increase to our current production.
That was the vision in 2019. But more than halfway in, many farms have bowed out, all hit by soaring labour and utility costs. Nearly a tenth have shut since last October, with 138 land-based farms still around. Many that remain have cut output. Among them, the high-tech vertical types, thought to be the solution to save space and boost yields. For this agri-tech farm, manpower costs are up 50% and electricity bills have doubled since 2022. Vegaponics grows about 3 tons of vegetables a month. It's now investing in renewable energy to offset costs and plans to expand its business in Malaysia instead.
By moving over to Malaysia, not only we save 3 times of the cost, we also save more energy costs, more manpower costs as well. So that's definitely a direct answer for us to move over. Not only will expand our production, and we can export this high quality vegetable over to Singapore to serve more customers.
It's not just the high-tech farms. Edible Garden City removed 7 containers of hydroponic systems at this site. Running them was simply too expensive.
So the reduction of controlled environment agriculture systems that we had on the farm actually reduced 60% of energy use of the farm, which is very significant based on what we could produce at the time, and the selling price of the vegetable was not competitive to them food imports.
To survive, the farm now mostly grows plants in soil. Another issue it highlighted, a lack of land. It's in talks with the government to extend its 9-year lease when it expires at the end of the year.
For urban farms, we are given mostly a 9 years lease term. And for traditional farms, it's probably a 20 to 30 years lease term. It takes, for a soil farm, it takes probably 6 to 7 years to really establish the foundation of fertility in the soil and productivity if you want to do it in a sustainable manner, right?
Meantime, various fish farms have also closed, citing limited space, rising costs and sea pollution that cause fish deaths. This despite nearly $40 million from 2020 under what was called the 30 by 30 Express Grant to support farms producing eggs, veggies and fish. And since 2021, more than $25 million to help farms upgrade technology and boost productivity. It's not just the farms. Hundreds of millions was also set aside for R&D into future food tech. But the lab-grown meat sector, once all the rage, didn't take off. Eat Just, the first to sell cultivated chicken, folded under high costs and funding pressure. Another firm, Shook Meats, is now part of Umami Bioworks, which remains active and focused on R&D.
So working with the universities and the polytechnics is quite important to giving those students exposure to the industry so they hopefully come in as our next employees when they graduate. But even more than that, there's still foundational research to be done to help move the field forward and unlock the breakthroughs that make the products taste better, cost less, etc.
Farmers say cheaper imports from the region and F&B closures are also hurting sales. In fact, domestic demand for Singapore-grown seafood and vegetables fell in 2024, despite multiple campaigns, retail promotions, and the SG Fresh Produce label. 6 years in, Singapore still imports over 90% of its food needs.
And for a more in-depth look at this issue, we speak to Prof. Veera Sekaran from the NUS President's Office. He is Director of Regenerative Agritech Center at the Department of Biological Sciences at NUS. Prof, great to have you with us here.
I'm very happy to be here. Good evening, everyone. Good evening to you as well.
Well, let's start with how Singapore, it rarely ever falls short of any target that it sets. In this case, what happened? Was the target of 30 by 30 unable to be met?
I think we need to frame that number 30 by 30. Everyone speaks about this big number, 30 by 30. And I think we need to frame it in the sense that it's aspirational. When we put that out, from what I understand, when we put that out, it was also a lot to do with, at that point in time, there were a lot of issues that we faced that made us really figure out what we need to do with regards to our food security, because there were many other tensions that actually existed in the region at that point in time. But many people came into that sector when that aspirational number was put out. A lot of people came into that sector who had very little agricultural knowledge and not enough expertise in that. They meant well. I think we need to be very clear that they all meant well. They were all passionate about what they wanted to do, but not all of them were in that particular agricultural field, because Singapore's not agricultural. Everyone wanted to try whatever they wanted to do, put an effort, and they wanted to meet the targets because it was an aspirational target, and many of them wanted to make some contribution to Singapore's food security. There were challenges. Obviously, there are challenges. I think land lease is one of the biggest challenges that they face, and many other aspects of whatever happened in terms of manpower and utility costs that happened was also a lot to do with when the Ukraine war started, energy prices going up. And many of them tried different methods as well. Methods and methodologies were very different from every entrepreneur who came in. Various systems came in. When you have many different systems coming in, there's not one unified or if not modular system that would allow them to actually learn from each other. Everyone wanted to do it on their own technology, wanted to have proprietary knowledge of what they wanted to do. What I understood was many of them were not sharing this knowledge. So there was no collaboration, there was no ecosystem that came together to actually then make this farming community an ecosystem that actually allowed them to do well together, not as individual farmers.
Yeah, and speaking of doing well, was there anything that you felt actually did work out as a result of this?
So there were many differences. The challenge was everyone went into indoor farming. I think that's one of the big key things that happened, right? Because I think the message that came out, we got very limited land, let's do intensive farming, let's all go indoors. I think that's where everything started to change, make a big shift happen in that particular area. If you realize during that period, there were many farms that actually were in America, in Japan, in Europe, and everywhere else. Everyone was moving indoors. New technologies were evolving and developing as well, because food security and finding new solutions for food was not a Singapore story alone. Yeah. It was actually happening around the world, right? If you look at what actually has happened now, many of them actually shut it down because energy costs, manpower costs, and other reasons that happened because of offtake. Many of them are producing a lot more, but the cost of production was quite high. And then that was not possible for a lot of the off-takers to then find solutions to actually bring these high-value products into the marketplace, competing with actually other imports as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier those limitations, right? The limited land, the manpower cost, the utility cost. Do you think that there were other challenges perhaps that were not anticipated apart from these that were stated?
It was a big challenge. I think Singapore has an open, transparent trading partnership with many people around the world. We import a lot of our food. I think everyone frames the security around COVID, and that's why 30 by 30 happened. But I think we need to take that into context as well. It's not only COVID. Many disruptions happen around the world. I think COVID is just one actual activity, one event that actually made us understand that there is a food security issue, but there are many disruptions. Even currently, geopolitically, there are many issues. When the Ukraine war started, fertilizer prices went up significantly, and a lot of crop prices around the world went up as well. So I don't think we should frame it that Singapore has failed. I think we've had a journey, and I think we need to frame it in a very positive note that actually this food journey that we are taking and going across and trying to build possible capacity and capabilities, right, has been, in the last 5 years, actually we've done well, in my opinion. Many people are aware of the issues, and many people are beginning to be aware that food security is a real problem. We need to be a lot more conscious of it. And I think it's gotten down to not only to the general public, schools are also beginning to take the possibility to bring it back to children out there and tell them what actually is food security all about. And that actually frames it better for us as we go forward, right? And I think we need to take it in context. It's not that we failed. I think we've just basically started a journey that actually is still growing and we're evolving as we go across, and we should get it better and better. And everything that's failed is not bad, because we learn from technology.
Yeah, and speaking of being on that journey as well, that shift in focus is part of that journey. And of course, we're looking at diversifying food sources and also greater government-to-government collaboration. Correct. Do you think this is realistic or sustainable? Would you have other suggestions that you would like to bring in?
I've always spoken about this in some of the talks that I give to my students as well, right? I think we have got good neighbors. We need to put the tensions across and look at food diplomacy differently as well. I think we've tried to rice is staple for us. We need to make sure we secure some rice trades that actually are rice connections that is actually consistent, it's available for us during crisis. I think we just signed with Vietnam, which is actually very good. There are many other partners that we could actually then do that too as well. Within the ASEAN community, we need to build that particular relationships as much as we can. I think we've imported from 180 other countries. I don't think we should stop. We should still look to diversification of where our food sources are coming from. I don't think Singapore is food stressed in that sense, honestly, right? And I think we need to find some way to build resilience in our food system and not focus on security, but build resilience within our systems that exist. And how do you build resilience in many different aspects of how we have the whole ecosystem coming together and trying to help and trying to have garner this whole industry that comes together to build resilience.
Yeah, Prof. Veera, I really appreciate your perspectives on this matter. I've been speaking with Prof. Veera Sekaran from the NUS President's Office. He's also Director of Regenerative Agri-Tech Centre at NUS.